we're gonna start with the shocks, rebuild the shocks. I always check the shock. You can hear already, I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but there's some air inside, so it's time to make it new. I also see that the shock shaft is, the coating is a little bit gone, so this is also the moment to change the shock shaft as well. So let's take it apart. If I check the bladder, this bladder has a long life, so no need to change it. I remove the oil now. So now I have a new shock shaft. I always put a 0.1mm shim under it, so the shock piston has not so much play. It has to still, it should move, but there's no play anymore. So now I'm gonna check the O-ring. Normally the O-ring you can use for many races. This is a blue O-ring from much more. This is normally the only O-ring we use. So before I'm gonna close the shock, I always use a little bit shock oil. Put the shim back. Close it good. Put the piston back in and always check if it has no bad spot, or that this one feels very free, so it's perfect. Now I'll put on the shock end. Always use the plier not on the shock shaft but on the end or the beginning of the thread. So now I'm gonna fill the shocks. Today I'm gonna use 550 much more oil. This is I think for most tracks pretty okay basic oil, especially when it's not too hot. Normally when you go when you're racing with hotter condition, you use thicker oil. When you go racing in cooler condition, you go softer. So 550 is a good compromise. So now I fill the shocks, and already when you fill up the shocks, you can feel if they work fine or not, and all the way to the top. You can see a lot of bubbles. It's normal when you completely rebuild the shock. Then the oil has to go all the way in, and it always gives more bubbles. So now I'm gonna speed it up a little bit with the air remover to get the bubbles out more quickly. This was the first time. I'm gonna check it. Still a lot of bubbles coming up. So I will push the shock piston all the way down. In the meantime, you can check the bladders. These ones look just fine, so I'm not gonna change the bladder. I think you can use the bladder very long time. The air is almost out of the shock.
Yep.
I just wait now for a minute and then all the bubbles should be out. So all the bubbles are out, and now I actually want to build my shock with a little bit rebound. So my shock shaft, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's almost all the way inside, just a millimeter left. So this makes a little bit rebound. Now I'm gonna put the bladder on. Bleed it a little bit. Just keep the same distance. And push it on.
And it's very important that that distance is the same in all 4 shocks?
Yes, yes. But of course you can check it afterwards.
Okay.
When you build all 4, you normally have 3 the same ones and 1 which is a little more or a little less, and then that shock you can build again, of course. Now I close the shock but still keep the distance. As you can see now, I made my shock with a little bit rebound, and of course try to make all other 3 the same. First of all, when I build all 4, I'm gonna check the rebound of all 4 shocks, and then sometimes I match 2, so I put the ones who are close to the other one I put in front or in the rear, but normally I want all 4 the same. And then I really check all 4, and then if one or 2 are not the same, I'm gonna build them again.
Okay.
But normally this works fine. Before I put the spring back on and put it back on my car, I always measure the length of the shock. This is very important that all 4 shocks have the same length. When I measure from top to bottom, it's 61.5, and this is what we most of the time use. And of course all the other 3 should be similar to that. With the shock collar, I put it all the way up. Make this in the middle, so you have 1 point, and make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laps, and do it with all 4, and go from there to set up the right height of the car. So the spring left and right have the same tension. I always measure also the distance from the shock collar to the top, so that they have the same tension. Now I put the spring back on, and no air, feels good. So now the shocks are ready to race.